I haven't got where I've got. You're about half an hour or so. I started in fitness, in the fitness industry, certainly as a club owner. Did everything a little bit backwards. Club owner, manager in the Sutherland Shire, PT, instructor. During those years, I guess I was an eternal student studying exercise science, which was obviously my area of interest there. Finished a master's, had a couple of midlife crises. One of them saw me studying counselling, which I went on to do a master's in that, and I started to see the links between the two almost completely separate industries. And the communication skills in counselling, and also the theory behind dealing with people around change, was really appropriate to the people we were working with in health clubs. So I did masters in counselling, lectured at university, so I was very much trying or being the expert for a long time. And I realised it just wasn't working. So, what else? RMIT, lectured in a distance, wrote the module of wellness coaching for the master's in wellness degree. And by that stage, I was literally moving from fitness into wellness, and as I say, from expert into coach. And the main thing being that I was looking at mental and physical health together and using behavioural psychology to actually help people find a better way of creating lasting change in their life. It's been a long journey, and it's certainly in the last 10 years things have started to move more rapidly. I think the last 3 years have been the biggest change. Before, they were all separate, so coaching, counselling, fitness. And really in the fitness industry, which is of course where I grew up, is where I've seen the biggest change. And whereas 7 years ago when I was talking about wellness coaching, it was falling on deaf ears and people were almost kind of quizzically putting me in the alternative basket. What's happening now is that the real switched-on trainers are the ones that tend to come to the training, and that's a joy to work with those people because they're realising that telling people what to do and just providing equipment and clever programs and a whole bunch of expert advice doesn't seem to last very long, and there's a missing piece of the puzzle. So I think now people are looking more about the idea of communication skills and building a relationship with clients, as well as understanding that you need theory behind it and you need to come from your place of expertise, but the way of delivering that is what will make the difference or not. So wellness now, they say, is $1 trillion industry, but that covers so many different facets. But for me, I just see the fitness industry really starting to blossom, bloom, and cross over into corporate health, where often corporate health programs are just that little bit further ahead, I think, than our traditional general fitness industry. And I'm just seeing them all linking together much more. Sure, it's a pretty vast area, and in the 45 minutes to an hour that I have, all I can do is provide, I guess, a taste of what is to come. And I think that the best part about doing these presentations is that you can cover the model that we actually work with in that time. So it will be a recognition that there is a different way of working, that there is a structure, and that there are ways of empowering clients to actually take responsibility for their own change journey, as we should say. In that time, I think a lot of people just go, hey, we need this, we can't do without this. I'm doing this informally myself in my communication style, but possibly would like to know a little bit more about how to introduce it. Sure. I guess probably one of the principles or the key things is we move when we're in a coaching style, we move from providing the answers to asking the questions. And the skill of actually asking questions in a certain way is one that doesn't come naturally to a lot of health professionals who've been very used to handing out that expert information. So if nothing else, it's a way of formulating questions that actually engage the client, because it's the engagement aspect that's missing often. So to ask a question of a client that can engage them and also create more of a trust and a bond between the two people is probably what would be the thing that comes across the quickest and the easiest in the presentation. Well, I suppose over the last 7 years we've trained over about 1,000 people from the fitness industry. However, there's been lots of people who've come from the weight loss world and virtually every other modality of healthcare. So if you are in a position where you're talking or working with a client for any period of time, even 15 minutes with exercise physiologists, AEPs often, you can make a difference in that time. So I wouldn't rule anyone out, really. We've even had members of the general public come along to the workshop who actually want to go through their own change process.
Hmm.
And when I talk about change process, I'm talking about lifestyle habits that actually lead to obviously better optimal wellness, mental and physical. So I wouldn't rule anybody out. Yeah, Coach Yourself to Wellness is my book, and it's got a workbook that goes with it too. You know, we've had that out now for 6 years, and it's a really good basis, I guess, for explaining. It's an interesting thing. When I wrote the book, I actually thought, right, well, that's the book I should have written about 20 years ago and given to all the members of my health clubs instead of a backpack, because it
Uh-huh.
would have been a lot more use to them, because it just explains the principles of change and why it's difficult and some of the steps to take to actually make it stick.